Well, the US government is taking Google to court over antitrust allegations. Prosecutors will argue that the company used unfair practices to become the most popular and dominant search engine by far. Colin Baker explains.
Think about how you search the web. You pull out your phone and type a question. Chances are you're already using Google. There are other search engines, but 90% of the world uses Google to find the information they want. And search is what makes Google and its parent company Alphabet one of the most profitable firms on the planet. Here's how it works. You want to find that coffee shop. Advertisers, like the nearby ones, have already put in bids for the keywords you're going to look for. If they've bid high enough, or the keywords are specific enough, their business will pop up first. You might go buy a coffee, but when you click the ad, the coffee shop pays Google a fee. That's Google Ads. But as you browse the web using Google, its cookies and bots follow you, building a profile that will target other companies' advertising on other websites to you. You can turn the trackers off, but you probably won't. And it's all extremely profitable. Google made more than $160 billion last year from the ads in search.
But why does Google often come up first when you purchase a new mobile device? According to the US, it's because the company paid Apple, Motorola, Samsung, and others billions of dollars to be the default search option. Google acknowledges the deals, but doesn't specify the terms. The US says that's unfair, so it's using a law from the turn of the 19th century to stop it.
The Sherman Act simply says you cannot have anti-competitive agreements and you cannot monopolize or attempt to monopolize. That's all it says.
The last time the U.S. government took on a tech company this big was in the 1990s. The target was Microsoft, and Bill Gates had to testify that his company wasn't forcing out competing internet browsers. Microsoft lost. It was broken up, then it appealed and paid a penalty. More than a generation later, Microsoft is now Google's toughest search competitor, thanks to new AI-powered search options in Bing.
I think the reason why now is just that we have a more progressive regime that's willing to go after some of these cases. And obviously this was started in 2020, so it isn't the Biden administration alone just going after it. But there's just been a larger push to go after a lot of these tech companies now because they've gotten so large.
Google says it makes a powerful and fair product that helps businesses grow. And if users want to choose a different search tool, they can. But this is just one of several cases the U.S. is making against the giants of Silicon Valley.
Well, Patty Kalane is live for us in Washington, D.C. with more on this story. I suppose what we're wondering is what can we expect from this case in court, Patty?
Well, what's happening right now is the attorneys for the Department of Justice and then an attorney representing the more than a dozen states that have joined the lawsuit, they've just now finished opening arguments, about an hour and a half. Judge gave about a 20-minute break, and so I expect right about now lawyers for Google are giving their side of the case. It's expected to take about 10 weeks of testimony, and experts say it is going to take months for the judge to decide this. It could actually not come down until 2024. It isn't a jury trial, so it's been interesting. The judge has been interjecting questions on sort of legal grounds, definitions, so keeping the lawyers on their toes a bit. But as Colin mentioned, this really comes down to, is Google an illegal monopoly? What's an illegal monopoly? Well, it's a company that's so big that no other company could possibly compete with them. And again, at the heart of this case is that default setting. So we did get a little bit of news in the courtroom today. The attorneys for the Justice Department say that Google spends $10 billion, more than $10 billion a year, to get those default settings on your computer, on your iPhone. Now, Google, for its part, says, look, people use our search engine. We're the dominant force because it's such a good search engine, and people can change their default settings. The answer from the Justice Department as they finished up their opening arguments was, well, if defaults don't matter, then why is Google willing to pay billions of dollars for them? So again, opening arguments underway. Google up next.
Well, it's still obviously very noisy where you are, but one wonders, through all the noise and buzz of what's going to happen, certainly in court, how this is going to impact on the consumer, depending on which way the verdict goes eventually.
Well, experts will tell you this is an absolutely huge, huge case. Just think about how much big tech dominates our lives right now. So the government says if they win, one of the options that they'll look at is asking the judge to break Google up. That would have a huge impact on Google and Alphabet and all of their shareholders, obviously. But the government also says it would increase competition. Maybe a search engine could break through that maybe has better privacy policies for consumers. It could also lower the cost of advertising. Google has pretty much a lock on online advertising, and testimony in court was that they can basically set their own price, so it could make it much cheaper for businesses to advertise. But it's even bigger than that. There are just a handful of really big tech companies that pretty much control our online lives. This could send the message, if Google wins, that the government cannot take those businesses on. If the government wins, companies like Facebook and Meta, its parent company, and all the others might get concerned that the government's going to turn their attention on them next.
Interesting, very interesting indeed. Pat Eagle-Hain there for us in Washington, D.C. Thank you.